All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to the Daily Sporting's first episode of Versus. On Versus, what I plan on doing, or what we plan on doing, is putting these debates between these players that everyone is kind of like, well, do I go with this guy or do I go with this guy? Is it this guy or is it this guy? So in this section or this segment, I want to cover some of these hot button debates. And one of the ones that I'm seeing the most right now is basically with the running back pegging order. Since we know running backs usually go off early, especially the elite ones. There's a lot of discussions between Alvin Kamara, who had a down year last year, Derrick Henry, and Cooks. And Cooks went off last year with the Vikings. Henry went off last year with the Titans, and Kamara kind of had a down year last year with the Saints. But all three are ranked usually within the top 6 running backs, and these guys are usually taken anywhere from the 3 to 7 range, and they're kind of grouped close together. Just off the bat, do you have any like initial thoughts or reactions towards the 3 players or anything like that, Hammer?
Besides, it's hard because Kamara definitely had a bit of a slide last year, but it's almost like he's definitely guaranteed to have a better year than he did last year. Henry, we've had the conversation over and over again how he's not like a swing back more or less, or more of a pass catching running back. So when it comes to ranking them 1 through 3, I would have to go Kamara, Cook, and then Henry.
So right now you're ranking them Kamara, Cooks, and Henry. All right. And I think that for me, I would probably have it the same: Kamara, Cooks, and Henry as well. But we're gonna touch a little bit more into the individual players and just kind of touch why we have them there. And like we both said, Kamara did have a bit of a down year, but all systems point to him as having a pretty good rebound year and a pretty good floor because he does catch those passes. So he's a little bit more of the safest option. He really has been pretty durable in his NFL career. The only person behind him this year is Latavius Murray. So in the running back situation, it's not like he has a lot of people that we're going to see taking away from his carries. But can I ask, Cameron, what scares you the most about Alvin Kamara this year? Like, what worries you the most about him coming into the season?
Honestly, nothing really scares me. Like I said, we should expect for him to return to a superstar form this year. Their offensive line finished first in adjusted line yards last year. They were top 3. They've been the top 3 since 2016. The Saints have prioritized their offensive line in recent years, which have resulted in a run-heavy philosophy. Mm-hmm. They've finished as a top 4 scoring offense in 4 consecutive seasons. Drew Brees has finished as the fantasy's QB 7 in points per game for consecutive seasons. The Saints offense also prioritizes the use of its running backs as receivers out of the backfield. That's where Kamara shines the most. And that's where I'm seeing, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be back as like one of the top, probably within the top 3 running backs by the end of this coming season.
And I agree with everything that you said there. The Saints, they are a run-heavy offense. Kamara, he's a good pass catcher that they keep involved in the offense. And I know that last year he had a down year and he was a frustrating person for a lot of people to own, myself included. But at the end of the day, I just don't believe that is going to be more of the trend. I think it was just a bad year. So then our number 2 ranked guy that we both have, which I'm shocked that we both are in full agreement in all 3 in the group, is Cooks. Dalvin Cooks is one of the most elite playmakers, I would say, in the NFL. He shows a lot of promise, especially when you get him into the open space. He's electric with the ball. But he's also small-framed, and he also has a lot of injury concerns. So it's easy to see why you have him ranked ahead of Henry, but also at some point in time, it's a little bit hard because Henry could be a little bit more durable and hold you down throughout the season. My question to you is, what is it that you like most about Cook going to the season, and what scares you the most about Cooks going into the season?
I'll start off with what scares me first is the injuries.
Mhm.
But he's on the final year of his rookie contract, so he has something to prove this coming season, whether it's he ends up getting a long-term contract with Minnesota or goes elsewhere in free agency. When he's healthy, he's been nothing short of a top-tier running back, more than worthy of a top 5 pick in any fantasy league.
Absolutely.
Despite only having 250 carries last year, he finished third among all running backs with 371 yards. What am I saying? No, 37.1 yards created per league and scored 13 plus fantasy points in all but one game. Like,
Mhm.
you want another solid weapon, somebody that's going to stay consistent to help your fantasy teams win.
Mhm.
And Dalvin Cook is one of those guys as long as his man stays healthy this coming season.
Mhm. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you on that. And the one thing about Cook that had scared me at the beginning of the offseason or in my initial rankings that's changed since is he's not going to hold out. He's going to report, which, for me makes a big difference because one of the reasons why I ranked him a little bit lower is because I didn't know if we were going to see another Melvin Gordon situation. Clearly, that's not going to happen. Clearly, I think you told me he's going to be named as a captain
Yes.
for this coming season. So they're gonna have a lot of faith in him. That he's playing for a contract, so that does make me feel a little bit more interested in Cooks. And if I'm taking Cooks, I am without a doubt going for his backup, Alexander Matatuk. Without question, I am handcuffing him. If I have Dalvin Cook and I see his upside there, and I'm taking him in this spot, which I would because his upside says top 5, top 3, I am handcuffing him. That is the one thing that I do say with him. You, even if you have to pay a little bit extra, you handcuff him. You get the running back in Minnesota. They focus on the running game anyway. So at the very worst, you have a number 1 type running back there, but you handcuff this guy without question. I think that's the one thing if I'm drafting Cooks that I'm doing is I'm handcuffing him, even if it costs me a pretty high pick. And then the next player that we have is Derrick Henry, who last year beasted. This year signed a $25 million extension with the Titans, if I remember correctly. I forgot the exact numbers, but we know he just got paid as a running back, a brand new contract, so he's not holding out and he's not playing on a franchise tag. What do you like and what are you scared of on Henry, Hammer?
He finished 5th amongst running backs in PPR last year. The only other running backs with a higher opportunity share was Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, and Christian McCaffrey. There's still opportunity for him to be used more as a receiver, and that's where this is why, and I think it's why we both have him in this versus as number 3. He needs to be used more as a receiver out of the backfield. He finished the season with only 25 targets. He led all running backs in yards created and ranked 2nd in breakaway runs. He finished as a running back 2 or better in 80% of his games last season in all PPR formats, but he continues to have a very high floor and even higher ceiling this season. He signed his $10.2 million franchise tender and is locked in, but he eventually got a somewhat of a contract extension. The departure of Deion Lewis will provide him with more targets, which is a plus for fantasy owners that are looking to get him.
I didn't know that.
The Titans offensive line ranked 4th in football last year. They should continue to impose their will on defensive lines this season. When you pair all these factors together with the Titans' very favorable running back schedule, like Henry is well positioned to finish as a RB1 by the end of the season.
Yep. And I will say this. I didn't know that Lewis was not being signed again, which is interesting to me. I would want to see some of the training camps and see what Mike Vrabel plans on doing with the running back position. And if he does plan on increasing his workload in the passing game, because I do expect a touchdown regression from Henry. However, I know Henry is a bulldog who will get goal line and will be able to score. So, I mean, his regression won't be as big as most players. If you're going to tell me that we're going to increase Henry's catches from 18 to like 45, at that point in time, you're talking about maybe an extra 25 points per game. And we know that it can give him an opportunity to do some stuff in the passing game as well, gain some yards in some open space, knock over some defenders. So that's actually a bit of information that makes me want to look at Henry going into the season. And if I see that there's a shot that Henry's really going to be used as a playmaker in the passing game as well, I may take him over Cooks just because of the health concerns and the fact that we know that Henry is a bulldog in the box. You know, he's a savage in the box, as Aaron Boone likes to say.
That's a big boy to come at you.
Like, yo,
Like
that's guaranteed touchdowns. It's just guaranteed touchdowns. So if he's in the passing game, that could very much change the rankings. And this is why we do these rankings often, and that's why we keep you updated with all this information, these tidbits that you know me and Hammer and Ricky and Dave like to provide you guys with, because Dion Lewis not being there and knowing that he's going to be included more in the passing game likely does start to raise him, but you still have to watch and see. And that's kind of the question that we have to see now on how things go. So this was the first episode of Versus where we had Kamara, Henry, and Cooks. I think that it was pretty insightful because we know a lot of people are going through it. Do you have anything that you want to add to the conversation here in regards to these three before we sign off, Hammer?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing all of them put in that work this year, and I could definitely get used to doing these verses as well. Rather, this is the first one, and definitely enjoyed doing this.
Yep, and I think that the next one that you're going to see from me and Hammer will be another running back debate, and I want to set it up, give you a little preview between it. It is going to be a two-person versus the next time, and we're going to dedicate it between Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs. Those are the next two guys that you're going to see on the gauntlet. So until next time, guys, we thank you, we appreciate you, and catch y'all later. Peace.